never forget the basics. Now, many years ago, when Barry was a lot younger and was at secondary school, our English teacher had the great idea of asking the school if they would chip in and buy us a couple of table tennis tables, or ping pong tables, depending on where you come from. So, lucky enough, we got the funding and he got the table tennis tables. Now, I had never played table tennis before, and like most of us, we were useless at it when the tables came. And you found that some people who had played them before were on the tables all the time. So what we had is we had a kind of process where everybody played on the table and the winner stayed on. So you kept, staying on if you kept beating everybody else. So there were some people, unfortunately, who were probably on the table from the beginning of the dinner break until the end of the dinner break because they were too good and they bet everyone. And unfortunately, people like me who weren't very good at table tennis were only at the table for about 5 minutes, during that maybe 40 minutes of a break or whatever, and we would never get a go until the following day, whereas this person had a full break to play table tennis against everybody. So I knew I had to improve. I knew I had to get better if I wanted to stay on that table. So what I did was I had bought a ping pong bat and ball, and I used to practice at home. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the money to buy a ping pong table at home, so all I had was a bat and a ball. Now you're probably thinking, well, how the hell did you practice table tennis if you hadn't a table to practice on? Or who did you practice with? Well, I'll get to that part. When I was growing up, we had moved into my grandparents' home and it had to be renovated. Now, again, there wasn't a lot of money on the table at the time, so we would slowly renovate the house room by room. And at the front of our house there was a huge sitting room and it hadn't been renovated yet, so there was a lot of junk in it, and this was going to be Barry's ping pong gym. So what I did was I would stand in front of a wall. I would stand maybe about 10 feet back from the wall, and I would get my little table tennis bat and I would hit my little plastic ping pong ball off the wall, and it would bounce off the wall, and then I would do my best. I would run around and I would try to return the ball back up against the wall. So it was more or less like squash or whatever, but instead of that it was me with a table tennis bat and a ping pong ball. Now, of course, in the beginning I was terrible at it. I would hit the ball and I was lucky if I could return it once, and then over time I got better. I could do maybe 2 or 3 shots in a row before the ball fell to the floor. So that was the objective I had in my mind, was keep hitting it against the ball, or keep hitting the ball against the wall as often as I could without letting it go to the floor. Now, because I did that for day after day after day. Now, at the time we had an old record player in our front room, and we had the album version of Aha's Hunting High and Low, and I would have that record player playing constantly that record over and over again. Now, if you ask me a question about any of those songs, I could tell you the lyrics word for word because I have it just drummed into my head. But what I would do is I'd put the record player on and I would go up to the front room for maybe an hour or two every day, and I would simply just crack that ping pong ball against the wall over and over again, and trying to keep it up as long as I could, try and keep a kind of a long chain of strokes. So I would constantly keep the number in my head and I would try to beat that number the next time. Now, even though I didn't have a ping pong table, I found that when I started to go back to the lunch breaks and start playing those games, I found I was staying on the table longer. I was beating some people. In fact, as I started to learn how to hit the ball against the wall, I suddenly realised that I knew how to swerve the ball. So what I could do is I could slice the little ping pong ball and I could make it swerve maybe to the left or swerve to the right, or I could kind of chop downwards on it and then I could do spin back, so it would do a backspin. As soon as I hit the wall, it would just ricochet off, extra fast because I put this extra spin on it. And I found that when I went to the tables I could do those tricks on the table, and because I was, because I drummed into myself my hand-eye coordination, because I'd done the hours over and over again, as I said, I started staying longer on the table. I started beating better players than I had. Sometimes I would send a player all over the table because I could spin it one direction, the other direction, I could make it come back to me. I could do all these different tricks, and I used to totally frustrate them. And I found that it wasn't too long before I actually stayed on the table nearly through the whole break because I got so good at it. Now, again, that was only me with a table tennis bat and a ping pong ball. and I had no table to practice on. Now, what the hell has all this got to do with you, you're probably thinking? Well, I'm here to tell you that you can get away with just focusing on the basics. All I needed to focus on then was my eye-hand coordination. I had to focus on the basics of how to swerve the ball, how to return the ball back up to the wall when it was about to hit the ground, all those different things, because I was doing it over and over and over again. And sometimes, unfortunately, we look for the advanced tricks. We look for something that is going to make us take a huge leap over from where we are over to where everybody else is, and we assume wrongly that it is going to involve some kind of advanced tips or tricks that we need to follow. And unfortunately, sometimes if we do follow those, we find out that we aren't ready to take them, and you would be better off focusing on the basics instead. Now, Bruce Lee had said one time, I'm paraphrasing it so I don't know it exact word for word, but he said, "I fear the man that has practiced a punch 10,000 times rather than the man who has practiced 10,000 moves." Now, as you can probably, it explains itself, but what he meant by that was, if you practice something over and over and over again, even one thing that you get so good at it, you are going to put yourself way ahead of the rest of the people who are trying to do everything. I'd imagine if he just practiced in one punch, he wouldn't need to do all the fancy kicks or all the jumps up in the air, the flips or the spins and all that. He could simply just hit you one punch and probably drive you across the floor or knock you out cold, and that is all he needed. So if you are, as I said, thinking that you need to get from where you are over to where everybody else is, and you think that you need to do something advanced, that you need to try some kind of trick or something that's going on at the moment, I'm here to tell you that you're better off focusing on the basics. Focus on the basics to get good at them, and you may find that the basics are enough to get you to that point that you might need the advanced bits. And if those advanced things that you did learn did let you down and you didn't have the basics in place, what would you fall back on? But at least if you focus on the basics of writing or whatever it is that you need to focus on now, focus on that and keep doing it over and over and over again, so that you'll have a strong foundation that your writing career or whatever it is you're looking to do can have a sturdy kind of flooring to build on, rather than trying to go with advanced things. So keep that in mind. If somebody can beat everybody without a table tennis table, with only a bat and a ball and a wall, there's no reason why you can't do the same yourself. So as always, I hope this has maybe given you a little bit of motivation or given you maybe something to think about. Now, if you'd like to reach out to me, and if you'd like me to cover anything in an upcoming video or a podcast episode, you're very welcome to reach out to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to know where all this content is being posted to, either the podcast or the videos, if you do a search on Google for Writecome, that's WRITECOME.com. And at the moment we have a great free report on the Writecome site, and it's called Words to Wealth, and in it I'm going to show you 10 different ways you can go from nothing at all to start making money from your keyboard. Now, if that intrigues you, or if you think maybe that you need to be some kind of fantastic writer to do that, I'm here to tell you don't. You can simply start with just a keyboard, the basics, just you and a keyboard, and you can make money from it from home. So if you go over to Writecome, download that free report, read through it, go and take some action on it, and you'll be very, very surprised what you can do with the basics. So as always, take care and have a great day. Bye bye.